Hey, welcome back to another episode of Realty Rant. I'm Vince Arcuri with my sidekick, Mike McGraw. And today we're going to talk about NAR, the National Association of Realtors, sunsetting certain committees, why it's happening, and why you should be concerned about it. Buckle your seatbelt. Here we come.
This is the Realty Rant with Vincent Arcuri. No fluff, no sugarcoating, no holding back. After decades in real estate, Vincent has seen it all. Tune in as he cuts through the noise to share the trends, tactics, and truths you won't hear anywhere else. The show starts now.
All right, so here we go, Mike. You know, this is breaking news in the real estate industry and National Association of Realtors. They're sunsetting committees. What committees did they eliminate? Why did they have to eliminate them immediately, but yet other ones were delayed till the end of the year and they can continue to operate? And why should consumers and why should realtors even care about this?
So April 1st, April Fool's Day, NAR makes an announcement. They were sunsetting 5 committees effective immediately. Sounds to me like no one got notice.
Did you think it was an April Fool's prank?
At first, I kind of thought maybe it was.
Okay.
But I was a little shocked because the one committee that wasn't on here was the Transparency Committee.
Oh, okay. Bullets. Hey, hold on over here. Hey, put your over there. Here we go.
I didn't see the Transparency Committee.
Okay.
Large state forum, medium state forum, small state forum, state leadership idea exchange council, reserves investment advisory board. These were the 5 committees that were immediately sunsetted. And then we've got another 3 or 4 boards that will sunset December 1st. Here's my simple question. Why? Is it costing too much money? Are these committees truly not needed? You know, there's all these questions here. And if they aren't needed and if it's a budget constraint, why wasn't this done 6 months ago, 2 years ago? Why now? I'm glad they did it now, but why now? And then the next question is, how do you and I get any say so? You're an agent. I'm an agent. I am an NAR director. I will put that out there. I'm a Florida director. The problem is, as a board member at NAR, I don't get any say so in this. That's all done at leadership and executive level.
Well, I think, most agents don't really care that they don't have a say so, because if they did have a say so, we've known the retaliatory tactics that happen for the people who do have a say so and who stand up and object. So for most real estate agents, fortunately, we have a platform like this where we could get and talk about it, but the average agent doesn't. So they have to really stand back and just take it as it comes. And every time I say something about spending, a lot of times I get corrected and people say Vince doesn't have his facts straight, which is why we're such a yin to the yang, because you
Right.
do call me out. And I've said before, well, if they weren't traveling around, and you'd say, Vince, that's a local issue. And now we're talking about NAR. Well, let me jump into some of the NAR spending, because you say, well, maybe they need to cut back on the expenses. I remember a few years ago, I was at the National Association of Realtors. I think it was in San Diego in California, I believe. Could be wrong there. But Mark Wahlberg was the guest. And, Mark Wahlberg got up on stage and the president was talking to Mark Wahlberg. I always wanted to know, how much did that cost the members to have Mark Wahlberg, especially a million agents that didn't even make it to the convention? They paid for that. So now when they talk about cutting back on committees, I bet you the amount of money that they pay the celebrity to appear every year at these conventions would probably allow some of these with change to continue.
Why'd you go there?
I know I was going to piss you off with that.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Here's what, and there again, Vince and I have talked before. I was blessed to be Florida Realtors president in 2023. And at the August convention in 2023, the keynote speaker was Tim Tebow.
Yes.
And I'm not going to go into the cost, but I will tell you right now that the costs are not small to bring these celebrities in. I will tell you that what we spent for Tim Tebow is a lot less than a lot of the other celebrities. Some of them are ridiculous in fees. And the nice thing about Tim Tebow is you don't pay him. You pay his foundation. the Tim Tebow Foundation.
Oh, what?
So that part's cool. I like all that. But I go back to what you were just saying. How did the average member benefit from Mark Wahlberg? How do they benefit from, whoever? I get it. But how did the members truly benefit from this stuff? I don't know. It's nice to hear a celebrity get up there and talk.
Right.
And they give their nice stories about how they're an Olympic champion or an actor or they're a football player. Great. But how does it truly impact the average member? Because, how many of our members aren't selling any homes right now or selling less than 2 a year? 60%? Well-ish?
I will say, I really don't have a problem with, from our state association, for example, bringing in Tim Tebow, and they brought in Ryan a couple years ago, the guy that owns the real estate brokerage in New York, the $1 million listing guy. Ryan's Sir Hart. And, you bring these people in and they're real estate really orientated, but the average real estate agent that's doing minimal business can afford to go to the state convention. And a lot of times the first year for them is free. So they're coming to these events for free. So there's a little bit more easily accessible as to fly from Florida to California, the hotel, or the people can drive there and drive back. So I think there's a little bit more from a local, if you want to consider the state of Florida local, benefit to having these people. But if anybody's watching this, pull up, I don't know if that Mark Wahlberg interview is on YouTube, but if it is, I watched that and Mark Wahlberg clearly did not want to be there. He was just flat, didn't want to be there. And I'm thinking they're paying this guy. I felt like it was despicable because his body language just said, I don't want to be here.
Yeah. I'm sure it was a lot of money.
Yeah. And
I had no idea, but I'm sure it's a lot.
And since there's no transparency, we're never going to know. But I mean, I'm sure it was at least a six-figure number from that guy's not going to get out of bed.
More than likely, it was a low to mid six-figure number, more than likely.
Okay.
Because typically you pay for private flight, you pay for security, you pay for a lot of times you get one night hotel at least out of it.
So let's get getting back to the committee. There's money being spent that easily these committees that were for the members could have been saved and kept open if there wasn't such spending. Again, like we're always talking about the spending and the unnecessary spending, and I don't have a problem with spending, but how is it benefiting the member? And those committees obviously.
But think about it for a second. 1.4 million members. So if NAR raises their dues by $10, just $10, is that going to break Vince Arcuri? No. But if they raise the dues on 1.4 million members by $10, how much money did they just raise?
Right.
$14 million a year times 5 years. Now, all of a sudden, over a 5-year period of time, they just added into their coffers a wad of cash.
Right. My issue,
$65 million.
My issue with that is it's just like politics. And anytime anything gets big and you put people in charge and there's any type of a board of directors or whatever in charge of money that's not theirs, they have a tendency to spend it like drunken sailors. And no difference with NAR. Our local boards are the same, and the political arena with politicians. We've got the ballot in Florida where they're trying to eliminate property taxes, and you have all these people standing up, mostly politicians, that are against it because they're fearful that their treasure chest of frivolous spending is in jeopardy here. When you look at what's happened in Florida over the last 4 years, property values at one point went up 10% a year, 4 years in a row. So that meant every sale, there was an increase. This guy's property taxes might have been $2,000. Now they're $9,000. So they had this massive buildup, but yet they still managed to spend every penny.
Almost every nickel.
And they're in a deficit. I remember when they used to go to the Sadowski Fund and take money from that to balance the budget because these politicians are just spending money like if they hit the lottery, and it's not their money. And they're not being transparent about it. And that is a very good, I don't know what's going to end up on the ballot, what version of that, but there's certainly explanations, and a lot of it ties into the amount of spending that's being done.
But here's the difference. Let's take state, Tallahassee, we're in Florida. Let's take the Tampa City Council, Orlando City Council, Hillsborough County Commission, Orange County Commission. All those meetings are public. They're all public.
Right.
And then those same legislators, both at the state, city, county, have to abide by sunshine laws. They can't go sit in the corner and have these little, Vince, let's talk about voting on this. But real estate board meetings, you ever been invited to a local real estate board meeting?
Myself, kind of, sort of, in a very vague way.
What was it? Was it a true welcome, or was it almost like retaliatory? We're going to bring you in here and do a show for you just to get you to shut up.
It just posted like, hey, if you want to show up, you show up over here. We're going to talk about ABC. And most agents miss it and don't.
Was it a true board meeting?
No.
Okay. So it was just an information session.
Yes.
So my question is, the cities and the counties that you and I deal with, all their meetings are open. Our board meetings are not open for the most part. Very few of these local boards are open. And if they are, yes, they're probably sparsely attended, and they're probably barely put out there. Just my opinion.
Okay.
Based on what I've seen.
Well, let's get back to, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about why these committees, what they are, why they were important. Maybe they weren't important, but we're going to come back, wrap this up with the closing segment. Stick around. Thanks for watching Realty Rant. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. This episode brought to you by the law offices of Edward Brennan, the kind of legal counsel you hope you never need, but you're glad you have. And now, back to the show. Okay, wow, we got a little off track there on that last one over there. We just had our producer yell at us for going off topic, but let's get back to these committees over here. What was eliminated? What was their purpose, and why were they important?
So large state forum, medium state forum, and small state forum. Honestly, I ain't got a clue, other than this is a way for, I'm guessing, incoming local presidents, or probably in this case, state presidents, to get together with the other large state presidents and talk. So part of me says it was a waste of time. Part of me says it might not have been a waste of time, because you've got people coming in. Because, when Ellie was Tampa president,
right?
How many years was she president?
1 year.
1 year. When I was local board president, Orlando, 1 year. When I was Florida president,
1 year.
1 year. We're all in, out. So staff, and I'm not digging on staff, but staff are the puppeteers a lot of times. And if a volunteer wants to be truly effective, they've got to build a coalition, and they got to build relationships and build knowledge to be able to do that. And most of us volunteers are doing what? We're selling real estate. We're hustling real estate every day, and we get asked, drugged, pushed, whatever, however you want to describe it, into volunteering our time. And next thing you know, Vince, you could be president one day. And all of a sudden, you're in the leadership line. You're working your way up. Now you have to ask yourself, how committed are you? Are you more committed to your business and your family? Are you committed to doing things right? Oh, and by the way, somewhere along the line, you're going to be dangled with a credit card, and it may be an American Express green, gold. It may be a platinum. Guess what, Vince? You got a budget here. You can take people to lunch. You can take people to dinner. Oh, and back to your pet peeve, you can travel. And there's certain trips I get.
That's an option for me, because I've always wanted to see the world, and what better way than to do it free as a board member that gets to travel around the world 10 times a year on the member's dime. Instead of me doing it, I could do it on, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
On the backs of the member.
Yeah, why? Yeah, go ahead.
There's more than one way to do it.
Yep.
And, but I go back to, all these committees they're eliminating, and I'm okay with it, but why now? Why now? And what else is coming? Because at some point in time, is NAR going to raise our dues? Because remember, NAR still has to pay this settlement. And there's a couple of large brokers that haven't negotiated their settlement. So this whole thing is still fluid. And one of our other episodes, either we're going to or we just did, talked about private listing networks. Don't kid yourself. This whole industry is in motion right now. It is in motion, and it's moving fast.
I'm going to tell you what and I'm not as astute on what's happening politically with these associations, but this is when I see something like this, I think, okay, this is like a soft ball they're throwing out right now, and let's see who reacts to it. And hey, that was pretty quiet. Now they can bring out the big acts because they're getting a feel for what the members are going to do about it. And if everybody's quiet, nobody puts a white hot spotlight on it like we're doing right now, here comes the big hatchet. And now it chops off more control of the membership and puts more control in their hands. And we've seen what happens when they take the control away. It's happening right now where the members are losing control and these people are doing whatever they want to do. And we're losing ground because now all of a sudden you start looking at agents and to me, the biggest problem is not them, it's the agents that are not paying attention. And mostly I go to these open houses and ththese young agents are there and you start talking about politically what's going on. They have no clue. They're just saying, hey, where's my money? Where's my money? That's all the new generation. They don't realize what's going on behind the scenes and how it's not only going to impact them, but consumers in the long run if we don't get a hold of this by the neck and start shaking some people and get this right, especially when you're looking at the rapid takeover of AI. A person that I follow, Colton Lindsay, who's if you don't follow him on Instagram or whatever, the guy's a genius, I think. And he's saying 10 years from now, people that think, oh, realtors won't be replaced because, you know, there's always that one-on-one conversation. Well, he sees 10 years from now, and I agree with him because everything else he says comes true. That 10 years from now, there's going to be an AI avatar sitting there talking to you, and that avatar could conceivably run the entire, and you know, they don't have to worry about the real estate agent being a dick. They don't have to worry about them not answering their phone, not available. They can just log on. And I know a Real Broker, which is a publicly traded real estate brokerage in America, one of the fastest growing right now in the country. They've already got these avatars that probably by the end of this year that are going to talk to consumers on behalf of the agent and immediately gives them the information in a chat on property. So the bottom line is people are asleep at the wheel. And if we don't start getting a hold of this stuff and operating as a unit in the right direction, our whole industry is going to fail.
So let's go back to NAR's announcement they made. Agents, pay attention. Brokers, pay attention because this does matter to you. Yes, AI is coming. Yes, private listing networks are coming. Yes, changes in MLS are coming. But the reason that the changes at NAR matters to you is because it's going to eventually affect your pocket, your dues dollars. And it may only be $10 a year. It may be $50 a year. Either way, the money needs to be spent effectively and efficiently. So it is your best interest, in my opinion, to pay attention to these announcements that come out of NAR because they do affect you. They absolutely affect you because everything we do needs to go back to the consumer and how we as an industry can better serve the consumer. Because I believe with all my heart, with all the AI coming, with all the technology, with all the data, the consumers have access to almost the same amount of data we do. You know what they want us at the table for? Explain it to us. And AI can explain it, but they still want someone there.
Right. I believe that. I'm going to wrap it up with this. I believe that 10 years from now, the association membership is probably going to be about 1/3. I don't think they're going to eliminate real estate agents. Maybe they will, but I don't think they will. But I think we're going to be looking at probably 1/3 of the amount of agents because agents are not embracing, they're not paying attention to what's going on at their local board, their national board, and they're not paying attention to this AI revolution. And that's a disadvantage to their clients. And if you're an agent and you're not engaging in all three, you should investigate it, jump in, start to participate because that's your lifeline to continue in this great profession that's been great to us for probably together for over 5 decades. And that's it for this episode of Realty Rant. I want to thank everybody, realtors, consumers, for chiming in, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
That's it for this episode of the Realty Rant with your host, Vincent Arcuri. Thanks for listening. Subscribe now and follow on all social platforms so you never miss the real insights. And we'll see you next time on the Realty Rant.
The Realty Rant is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Opinions are those of the speakers. No person, company, or entity is being singled out or accused. Hosts and affiliates are not responsible for actions based on this content.